to see you again.
Great to have you here. I appreciate you being here.
Yeah, and you are a champion of 57, 54, and now you are a champion again of 526.
Right.
So, do you hope that the 526 will be, passed in the Senate?
Yeah, we plan on all of that legislation to get passed. It's not just a messaging bill. This is something that'll make a difference for the people of Cambodia, and we intend for it to get through.
So your bill is aiming to sanction Hun Sen's regime.
Right.
So, how do you believe that is going to happen?
Well, with the passage of this bill, what it'll do, it'll call out the people that are responsible for human rights violations or for the intimidation that we saw in the last election, not just the last elections, but election past. And it'll put economic sanctions on people. And what we have found is, you can't dictate to people what to do, but you can sure not let them participate in a market economy. And by putting these sanctions in place, we're just sending a strong signal that we just don't appreciate the type of antics they're doing that are robbing the Cambodian people of the freedoms that they deserve.
Yeah. Regarding the bill for sanction Hun Sen, but Hun Sen also spending more than $1 million this year, hiring 2 lobbyist groups to help him. So, do you think that do you think that Hun Sen will win at this time?
No, I think he's feeling the pressure of our bill, and he can spend all the money he wants to, and I think it's wasted money because you can't hide through lobbying bad actions that he's doing. I think the Cambodian people have woken up to this. If you look at somebody like Hun Sen, who's been in power for over 38 years, he's the longest serving dictator under the auspices of being in a democracy. People like Hun Sen bastardize the word democracy because it's anything but a democracy with free and fair elections. When you take the leaders of the CNRP that were elected fairly and you outlaw their party, you put the political leaders of that in prison, and then you abolish that party and anybody associated with it, tell them they can't run for 5 years or run them out of the country, and then you have an election after you shut down the internet and squelch the free press. You've had anything but a free and fair election, yet he remains in power. He's a billionaire, and Cambodia has one of the lowest income rates in the free world, in the world. I won't say free world because they're not free.
Hun Sen have hiring Brownstein,
Right.
hired Faber for more than $700,000 US, and then he also hiring the PAC Rim for lobbyist group of $500,000, and to lobby not the U.S. to pressure his regime. So, do you think Hun Sen able to use those lobby groups to kill any law that aim to sanction his regime?
I'm sure that's their goal is to do that.
Yeah.
And good luck. I think it's wasted money. If he would just do the right thing for his people, he wouldn't have to spend that money.
Yeah. But former chairman Ed Royce also now work with the Brownstein's lobbyist group company. So you think that that is going to be a heavyweight for your bill to challenge Hun Sen's regime?
I think Ed Royce was a co-sponsor of our bill, wasn't he? And, I don't see Ed Royce changing the way he feels. The one thing I think Ed Royce will do is open dialogue, and that dialogue will hopefully change behaviors with Hun Sen.
But if your bill 526 fail at the Senate, so what is your plan B?
Our goal is to have it go through the Senate. We've got Senate co-leads over there that we're working with hand in hand, and the idea is, the people we've talked to that are in support of this bill, they believe this bill is the best way to go. This is our foreign policy, again, to help reach out and bring Cambodia into the 21st century, to have a market economy, to have the relationships that other countries have with the United States of America. We hear over and over again when I travel the world that people depend on American leadership because of rule of law, the honoring of contracts, the integrity and respect we bring to other countries with us. They don't see that from other players in the world, mainly China.
Congressman Ted, after the CNRP was dissolved by Hun Sen's regime, the CNRP itself is having a fraction between Sam Rainsy supporter and Kem Sokha supporter. So, do you think this fraction could lead to the obstacle of your bill, when they're not solid as want to push for the challenge in Cambodia?
No, I don't think it'll have an obstruction to the bill itself. I think anytime you have political upheaval or dissent, when something happens, people are always looking to blame somebody for why it didn't work. And so out of that will come a stronger CNRP or something that'll fulfill or fill that void. And I think you'll see them go ahead and push that through. And, again, the one thing we know about people around the world is there's an innate quality in all people for the desire to be free, self-determining. Democracies allow that. Western democracies allow that. The type of regime that Hun Sen is running will not allow that. The only way he can stay in power is to suppress people.
So, what do you say about the Cambodia is facing with the EU's, the EBA and stuff like that in a process to suspend from Cambodia, and at the same time the U.S. is also pressure to withdrawing GSP from Cambodia. So, what would you say about this?
Well, those are good points that you brought up, and I appreciate you bringing those out because what I want people to understand, this is not just the United States of America feeling this way. You have the EU, and between the EU and the USA, we account for about 65% of the trade for Cambodia. So if you have your major trading partners saying, we don't like the path you're going down, we don't approve of what you're doing, not having free and open fair elections, that we're all in the agreements of our trade deals. That should give cause and concern for Hun Sen. So he can either elect to do business with the free world or he can become a vassal state of China. The choice is his, but the Cambodian people deserve to have the freedom that we're all born with, that desire to have freedom.
Congressman, if Cambodia lose EBA and GSP and a lot of people will be suffer from this, pressure. What would the Cambodia people do in this case scenario?
Well, I look at the history of other nations and I look at the history of our nation. Yeah. We came up from a tyrannical Great Britain, and we wanted that freedom that we were robbed of. And we fought a war, and I'm not advocating a civil war in Cambodia, but I would hope people like Hun Sen in the 21st century would realize that the path they're going down to be a dictator of a country where he has amassed billions of dollars, yet his people are on some of the lowest economic scales in the world, that he would look at what is best for my people. Because as history will be recorded, Hun Sen can be the person that's looked at as and despised as a despotic, authoritarian leader that robbed from his people, or he can be the leader that's written down in history as a George Washington figure or a figure like a Gandhi that opened up his society and created a free society and raised the living standards for the people of Cambodia. That choice is his, and I would encourage him to read history of people that he admires, and he'll make the right decision if he does.
Yeah. Cambodian people is so much complain about the Chinese presence in Cambodia, and they concerned about the strongly influence from China into Cambodia. So what is your observation into this point?
Well, we know what China is doing with their predatory lending practices. We know that they went into Cambodia and they're looking at building ports and airports. We also know that they've done casinos, and look at the results of that. Has that helped the Cambodian economy, or did they bring in the Chinese workers, Chinese materials, build Chinese restaurants, Chinese hotels that the Chinese workers stay at, that builds the economy of China, not Cambodia? I think when you look at facilities that the United States or the European Union comes in to build, we build those things and give the money to build the economy for Cambodian people.
So you think the Cambodia turned too much into China like that? It's going to be, the relationship between the U.S. and Cambodia could turn into sour or something?
The relationship between who?
Between Cambodia and the U.S. could be.
Well, it is sour now.
Why?
Well, just because of what Hun Sen is doing. Just if you go back to the last election, it wasn't a free and fair election. So, he's going down a path that's taking his country in the wrong direction, I feel. He'll have to make that decision, and hopefully the people of Cambodia can rally together and say, we don't want to go down this way. And that's what they did with the first CNRP elections, where they saw a massive turnout of people. The last elections had a large turnout of females, of women in the election, and I think Hun Sen is afraid of that. He's insecure because he knows that he can't survive free and open elections, so he's going to squash that. And so, yeah, that has soured our relationships. He needs to hire lobbying firms because of what they're doing is not in alignment with the free world.
Thank you so much, Congressman, for your time.
Appreciate
Appreciate
what
that.
you do.
Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.